Welcome to the Rent to Rent Success podcast, the only podcast entirely dedicated to helping you achieve rent to rent success. We talk about the ethical way to get you started in property without buying it. This is our place to inspire each other to believe bigger, to be bolder, and to be game changers for good. Property investors and sisters Stephanie and Nicky Taylor are your guides on this exciting ride. Let's start up the engines and get ready to fly. Hello, hello, hello. It's Stephanie here, and welcome to episode 20 of Ask the Angels, where we answer your rent-to-rent questions. If you would love to have your question answered, go to renttorentsuccess.com/ask, ASK, and record your question there for me to answer for you. Today, we've had a question from Kelly, and it's all about advertising. Let me play Kelly's question for you.
Hi, this is Kelly. I have a quick question regarding advertising in local publications. So we have a well-known garden centre locally, and Home and Gardens magazine are setting up a monthly magazine on their behalf. Home and Garden magazine's contacted me. They must have found my details online, my company details, and they've asked if I'd be interested in advertising, as they think the company fits well with the brief for the monthly magazine, as it's all going to be to do with kind of lifestyle, homes and properties, and the area is quite an affluent area, so it may be something that would be of interest. But I haven't actually sent out my landlord letters yet, so I'm thinking maybe I would do that first and look to advertise in future publications if I don't have much success with landlord letters. But yeah, I'm just interested to kind of hear other people's views on advertising in kind of local magazines or alternative means. Thanks.
So great question from Kelly there. Should she advertise in Homes and Gardens, in a local Homes and Gardens magazine? Well, I say, firstly, we want to look at who we're trying to reach with the advertising. Who do we want to get in touch with? We're trying to reach HMO landlords. And yes, while some visitors to the garden centre may also be HMO landlords, we'd also need them to both go to the garden centre and read the magazine and call you. Now, that isn't impossible depending on the number of the circulation of this magazine, but it's much less likely that you'll get in front of an HMO landlord by putting an ad in Homes and Gardens magazine than if you wrote a letter exclusively to HMO landlords in your area. And that's the magic of the HMO landlord letter. Now, your question didn't mention the expected readership of the magazine or the price of the advert. If it were me, I'd want to put my advertising pounds elsewhere. And if you want to have local visibility, make use of free notice boards to promote your service in local shops. And we've also had luck with the boards that you put up outside, similar to let boards with your company name on. So they're two inexpensive ways that you're much more likely to have the right people getting in touch with you. And sometimes these print magazines can be quite expensive, and it's actually difficult to know whether they are working well. So the top ways to attract direct-to-landlord properties are HMO landlord letters, as I've mentioned, and also contacting landlords directly on online portals such as OpenRent, Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace, and Spare Room. We talked about HMO landlord letters in Ask the Angels episode 13, and it was called How Can I Send Rent to Rent HMO Landlord Letters Without Writing Envelopes by Hand? And if you go to renttorentsuccess.com/ATA13, you'll be able to see that episode if you want more info about the letters. And you might want to hear some case studies of people talking about how they got their first deals. So check out the following episodes. In episodes Rockstar 2, Lois talked about how landlord letters helped her get her first properties. And then in episode 69 of the podcast, Joseph talked about getting 4 HMOs in coronavirus lockdown by messaging landlords on online portals. So those are 2 great episodes to listen to. Episode episode RS2. So it's rent2rentsuccess.com/RS2 for Rockstar 2. And then episode 69, rent2rentsuccess.com/69 to hear from Joseph. So those are 2 great ways to start. You're already planning to start your landlord letters. You could then start looking on portals. And another good way is social media. And in episode 76, Reese talked about how he uses LinkedIn to find landlords. And that's a really good episode. Reese has a lot of ideas where he's doing things a bit differently. So definitely check out that episode. And a more advanced strategy is to use Facebook ads. In episode 79, Azu explained his 4-step process to finding HMO landlord letters in your area using Facebook ads. In summary, then, I think there are much more effective ways to reach HMO landlords than in a local Homes and Gardens magazine. Of course, if it's almost a giveaway price, you could test it. But if it's a bigger investment, I wouldn't go there because there are much better ways to get started for a lower investment. As you say, you could start with letters and perhaps some of the other strategies I've mentioned here, such as contacting landlords on the online portals, messaging landlords on LinkedIn, and later on with Facebook ads. Although do be careful with the Facebook ads. It's easy to burn money if you don't know what you're doing. And episode 79 will give you more information on that. We've got all of the links in the show notes for you for this episode. So they will all be at rent2rentsuccess.com/ATA20, ATA20 for all the show notes there. And if you would like to have your question answered like Kelly did today, go to rent2rentsuccess.com/ask, ASK, and I will record an answer for you. I always love the questions that you're sending in, and it's great to be able to answer them here. If you're new with us today, or if you would just like to learn more about Rent to Rent, then check out our free Rent to Rent Success guide and masterclass. There's a booklet guide, and there's also a 90-minute masterclass going over everything rent to rent. So if you need an overview of how it all works and you want to see whether you think it will work for you, then definitely go ahead and get that free guide and masterclass. It's at rent2rentsuccess.com/guide, GUIDE. So for now, that's it from me. I will see you all again next time. Remember, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer. I will see you soon. Thank you so much for being with me here today. If you would like more, we've written the #1 best-selling book on rent to rent. You can find it at rent2rentsuccess.com/book. Reviewers on Amazon have described it as the best rent-to-rent HMO book and also as a definitive reference guide and inspirational. Take your next step today and buy the book. You can find it at rent2rentsuccess.com/book. And I'll see you again next time. Until then, remember, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer.